Tank family, it's good to be back with you. Sorry I wasn't around the last couple weeks, but hey, we're back at it. And this week, we're kind of doing an interactive Tank Talk. So before we get started, will you do me a favor? Will you get a piece of paper and a pen and get it ready? Go ahead and pause the video while you go get it. I'll wait right here. Okay, you got your paper and your pen? Here's what I need you to do now. Write down the names of everyone you can think of who is important in your life. The people in your class maybe, or your small group, or your family, or your team. All the people that you know in a personal way. You know these people's names because they mean something to you, right? And if you're anything like me, you hope that you mean something to them in return. That's why I think it stings a little bit when people don't get our name right. I mean, is there anything worse than someone getting your name wrong? Especially if you feel like you have a relationship with them? When you tell them your name and then they forget it, or when they should know your name but they still can't get it right? My name isn't that hard to spell. It's only 4 letters. It's rarely misspelled. But I can't tell you how many times people at church have called me like Mike or Michael or Mark. I mean, one time they did spell my name wrong at Starbucks, but I told them my name was Drake and they spelled it Drick. A misspelled name on a coffee cup or someone pronouncing your name wrong when they're taking attendance is more of a kind of annoyance. Or maybe the kid in your small group always calling you the wrong name. That's a little bit more frustrating. But I forget names all the time. People I've known for a long time, I forget their names. I just space out and their name eludes me. For instance, when Dan was working with me, we went to Costco once and we saw someone I knew and I went to introduce Dan and I could not remember his name. I was like, this is my friend. Oh no, what's your name? Oh, I'm so sorry, right? And Dan just looked at me like, what is happening? Like, how do you not know my name? See, I know that when I should know someone's name but space on it, I worry that I've hurt their feelings. Being known by your name is special. And when your name is forgotten or even misspelled, it takes away from the personal connection that you might be building with that person. Of course, when the barista at Starbucks or the substitute teacher calls you by the wrong name, you don't really correct them, you just move on. Chances are high that the relationship kind of ends there. Them calling you the wrong name doesn't really impact your life beyond that moment. You're not losing sleep because the guy at the coffee shop added H to Sarah on your coffee label, or the substitute teacher couldn't actually figure out how to pronounce Aaron. But if your best friend, your coach, or your small group leader got your name wrong, the people you just wrote down on that piece of paper, if they misspelled or mispronounced or even forgot your name, well, that hurts. Because they're supposed to be the people who really know you. They're the game-changing, important relationships in your life. They're the people you listen to, you lean on, you turn to when you're in need. They're the people you want to know your name because with them, it's personal. The reality is we all want somebody to know our name. We all want to feel like someone knows us in a real way. It makes us feel important. It makes us feel seen. When someone really knows our name, it's a sign that they know us, and that feels personal. So many of us spend a lot of time looking for a friendship like that. We want a BFF, someone who knows everything about us. The kind of friendship where someone understands us without even a word being spoken. We want someone who cares about us, values us, and stays close to us. We want a friend who knows our name because they know us in a real and personal way. But the reality is, you already have that. You already have a person in your life who knows you and loves you that way. And that person is Jesus. Now let me stop here and acknowledge that you might be thinking, of course you're talking about Jesus, we're doing a church thing, you have to say that. And yes, I get why you'd think that. But I'm not just saying that because we're doing a church thing. I'm saying it because it's true. Jesus knows each and every single one of us by name. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. He sees you and wants to know you in a real and personal way. Now, I get that this is a hard thing for a lot of us to believe, and honestly, I understand why. Because to many of us, Jesus doesn't seem all that personal. Maybe you feel like he's just too big to notice you. If he's big enough to be the creator of the universe, then how could he possibly know us personally? We're not nearly that important, right? Maybe you feel that way because it doesn't seem like he's there. You can't see him or hear him talk back to you. How can he know you so personally if you haven't even heard or seen him? Maybe you feel like he's impersonal because you just don't know much about him. You're not sure if you believe in him or if he even gives that much thought to you. That sure doesn't make him feel all that personal to you, does it? You may even be wondering why you'd want to be known by him personally anyways. To you, he's just someone who judges your every move and makes you follow a bunch of rules. You might think he doesn't care about you. He just cares about your behavior. And knowing you personally is about so much more than just knowing what you did right or wrong. Or maybe you feel like if he knew the real you, he wouldn't want to be close to you. The things you've done, the mistakes you've made, the thoughts you thought. Those are things that you don't want anyone to know about you personally. No matter what you think or feel about him, the reality is that Jesus does know your name. And it's not in the same way that means you're on his list and he's got an eye on you. It's in a way that lets you know that to him, you matter. He knows your name because to him, it's personal. To show you what I mean, we're going to take a look at an encounter Jesus had while he was on earth with a guy named Zacchaeus. It's found in a book called Luke, which was written by one of Jesus' closest followers. And this is one of my favorite stories because it's about a short dude. Now let me set the scene. Jesus was coming into the town of Jericho with a crowd all around him. By this time in his ministry, he had become pretty well known. People had seen Jesus do miracles, heal the sick, teach amazing things, and even saw him raise a man from the dead. So basically, Jesus was a pretty big deal. And as Jesus was passing through the crowd, someone caught his eye. Someone caused him to stop. And this is where we meet Zacchaeus. He had a little bit different reputation than Jesus. Take a look. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and he was wealthy. Tax collectors in the time were viewed as being the worst. No one really liked them at all. They cheated people out of money, and because of that, people saw them as outsiders and traitors. And that's to say, Zacchaeus wasn't super popular. So on that day, Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus. So as a shorter guy, he went and he climbed a tree just to get a glimpse. And up in that tree, Zacchaeus got a lot more than he probably expected. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." Think about this. Out of this huge crowd of people, Jesus stopped and called out to this one guy, "Zacchaeus!" Jesus called his name. How startling it must have been for Zacchaeus that Jesus not only knew his name, but that he had said his name out loud. Jesus called to him in front of everyone. Now remember, Zacchaeus was not popular with this crowd, and he knew it. He probably knew that Jesus knew it too. So to have Jesus not just notice him, but notice him by name, that was a big deal. That made it personal. In that one moment, Jesus communicated that he saw Zacchaeus was different than the way that the rest of the world thought of him or saw him. He communicated that Zacchaeus had value to him. Zacchaeus was seen, known, and valuable to Jesus no matter what anyone else thought of him, no matter what he even thought of himself. And what's cool is that this is how Jesus sees us. He not only knows our name, but he calls it out. He uses it. He sees us for who we are. We're valuable creations of a loving and personal God. When Jesus calls you by name, he's inviting you to live a life with him. And when we accepted that invitation, our relationship with him becomes real. It becomes personal. Personal began for Zacchaeus when Jesus knew his name, and the same is true for you. It's personal because Jesus knows your name. So what does that mean for you? How does this change the way that you see yourself, or the way that you see Jesus, or even the way that you see other people? For some of you, it might begin by taking one step forward, knowing more about Jesus. Zacchaeus climbed a tree to get a glimpse of Jesus. That was his first step towards personally experiencing Jesus. So maybe you need to climb a tree and take a step for yourself. No, not an actual tree. I mean, just take a step to get to know Jesus in a more real and personal way. Ask questions about Jesus or talk to your small group leader or your parents about things that might be holding you back. You can even look up the story of Zacchaeus yourself to get it started. Whatever it takes, take a step to help you know the one who knows your name. Others of you know Jesus in a personal way. You've stepped into a relationship with him and you know the value of being close to a personal God who knows your name. Because of what Jesus did for you, you can do the same for others. You see, Jesus doesn't just invite us into a relationship with him. He invites us to know names alongside him. Check out the command he gives to us as his followers. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. In this passage, Jesus told us first to love him, and second, to love others. To make it personal to the people in our lives, we can do this by first knowing their name. Just like someone knowing your name makes us feel seen and valued, when we know someone's name and we use it to talk to or about them, it gives them the same feeling. It's a simple act that lets someone else know that you care about them in a real and a personal way. So as you head to your small groups this week, think about this question. How does it make me feel when someone knows my name? Thanks for hanging with us. We'll see you next week.